Confusion and concern has emerged in the closely watched Democratic primary to elect New York City's new mayor. Yesterday, election officials retracted their latest report of unofficial results after what they called a discrepancy. Well, a few hours later, the Board of Elections released a statement saying 135,000 test ballots were never cleared from the system. Former President Trump weighed in on the chaos, comparing the situation to false claims of a fraudulent 2020 presidential election, and he claimed New York City's mistake will, quote, go on forever. So let's bring in Adam Brewster with more on this. He covers special elections and midterms for CBS News and has been following this story. Adam, just explain what the discrepancy was here and what we know about how it happened.
So as you mentioned, this was an issue of test ballots accidentally being included with real results. So the Board of Elections, before they were putting out results from the ranked choice elections, was testing a new software. They were running ballots through, and then within the system that stores all of the results, they forgot to clear the test ballots from that result and pushed it out. And the way it was sort of noticed, it was picked up by some reporters and operatives and even a candidate or two who noticed that, at the end of last week on primary night, we were told there were about 800,000 in-person votes, and that accounted for 96% of the votes. And then when the results came out yesterday, there were 940,000 in-person votes, way more than the 4% increase we were expecting to see. And that raised the issues. Eric Adams, one of the leading candidates in the race, put out a statement saying there appear to be 100,000 ballots that we don't know where they come from. What's the discrepancy? And that caused the board to put out a statement saying there was an issue. They were investigating it. As they looked into it, a few hours later, they said it was these test ballots, which they say they've cleared out of the system. They're retabulating everything, cross-checking everything before they put out more unofficial results.
Okay, so this hiccup, mistake, error, whatever you want to call it, it should not impact the race, right? Or could it impact the race in any way?
Well, I think that remains to be seen how the candidates themselves react moving forward. So far, we've seen them, the top candidates come out and say, this was a mistake, this was unfortunate, this should have never happened. Some pointed to the board's history that it has with issues in election administration, but they all kind of went forward to say there needs to be integrity and accuracy in the process. But these results that were released yesterday before they were retracted, and the results that will be released again soon, were always going to be unofficial results because they didn't include the 124,000 absentee ballots that were cast in the race. This was supposed to be an update on how the race looked when you did the ranked choice voting tabulation for all of the votes that were cast in person. But with 120,000 or so absentee ballots that were missing, these were always going to be unofficial. They were always going to redo this process next week. So if there was a point for the board to have a mistake during this unofficial, incomplete result stage, was probably the phase to see that happen. Now, we'll have to see if there are lawsuits or if there continue to be issues and discrepancies within the results. I spoke to an election lawyer last night who said, look, a hand count is probably not out of the equation, but it remains to be seen if that is something that is necessarily required based on what we see from the board moving forward in these results.
I think it's a good reminder that this is the first time New York City is trying this type of voting style, this ranked voting style. And so, yeah, the possibility of hiccups is certainly there. This is how you kind of work out the kinks. That being said, and you mentioned it depends on how the candidates react, candidate Maya Wiley called the Board of Elections mistake a, quote, result of generations of failures that have gone unaddressed. It's not the first time the board has mismanaged an election. Right before our conversation, I just quickly Googled primary election New York City. Up pops, a New York Times article about what they called a botched New York City primary becomes a November nightmare. So you recall there were issues there. It had to do with mail-in ballots and stuff like that in November. So, I asked about the impact on the race. I wonder if the impact really is going to be amongst voters and whether or not they feel they can trust the system in New York City.
I think that's a good question, right? And again, to go back to the candidates, they're the ones who will have to set the tone in terms of whether the results can be trusted. We've already seen Catherine Garcia, one of the other candidates, come out and say, I expect whomever comes out as the winner to accept the results and to get behind the winner of the Democratic nominee. But you don't have to look very far back in the New York Board of Elections history to find issues of mismanagement, whether that was voters being accidentally removed from voter rolls, equipment issues leading to lines, or just last year during the primary where it took weeks to determine the results because it took so long to count mail-in ballots. There were also issues getting people mail-in ballots, whether people received them at all. So the board has had its history of issues, and it's not necessarily something that receives a ton of national attention. New York is not a swing state, right? This is not somewhere that we're closely watching in November, especially within New York City, right? It's a place where Democrats dominate elections. So, the elections get attention from the people who live here, certainly from political reporters and observers, but, your average person around the country, you don't hear a lot about New York, especially when it comes to election time, but they've had a history of having issues with administering the election. And while state lawmakers have put in, place changes to allow for early voting, and they're working to expand permanent access to mail voting for more people, making it easier for people who are convicted of felons to have their voting rights restored, they haven't necessarily addressed the issue of who administers the election and how that process works. That may be a conversation that restarts again today after what we saw yesterday.
I bet. Speaking of that, even before the election, the front runner, Eric Adams, leveled some accusations of, voter disenfranchisement after two of his opponents, Andrew Yang and Catherine Garcia, formed a bit of a last-minute alliance to bolster their campaigns, kind of using a new strategy to address this ranked voting option. I'm wondering, now that we've got this error popping up, has the argument of disenfranchisement intensified at all?
I think some of the people who did not necessarily support ranked choice voting, it was passed by New York City voters by a 3-to-1 margin in 2019. That does come with the caveat that that was not just an off-year federal election, that was an off-year city election. So you were seeing a very small number of people participate in that election. But the issue Eric Adams was raising before the campaign is sort of different from what we're seeing now. He was, essentially accusing them of, trying to disenfranchise, a black or Latino candidate from winning by teaming up and tag teaming. But that's something that we see in ranked choice elections, right? Candidates who come out together and say, hey, you might like me best, but if you like me best, this is probably your second best option. And that's what we heard Andrew Yang say about Catherine Garcia. We'll soon learn, perhaps a bit today, but certainly more next week when the absentee ballots come out, and then maybe even again the week after, how that strategy paid off for her when he was saying, you should campaign for number 2.
Yeah, right. So what happens next in the process? They're going to sort of rejig everything. Should we be getting preliminary, unofficial results again sometime soon?
We may see those today. The Board of Elections, when they took down the results that they had released yesterday, put up a new slate that said unofficial ranked choice results to come on June 30th. But what we learn, whenever those are posted, will again be unofficial and incomplete. They will only include ranked choice results from votes cast during early in-person voting or votes cast in person on primary day. Next Tuesday, July 6th, there will be another round of ranked choice voting results released that will likely include the bulk of absentee ballots. That will give us a more complete picture of how this race shakes out. Now, voters do have until July 9th to cure issues with their ballots. That may be if you have perhaps a signature issue that needs to be fixed in order for your ballot to be counted. You can do that until July 9th. So it may take until July 12th, the week of July 12th, before we fully understand who wins this race. It will depend kind of on the margins and how many absentee ballots are included next week. But the next batch of results that we're expecting will only include in-person results. Things could dramatically change once you factor in those absentee ballots. So again, we could be waiting until mid-July to fully understand who won this race. That is to say, if there are not court battles or a potential hand recount to drag this out even further. But the timeline as it currently stands looks to be the first or second week of July.
My money's on dragging it out a little. I think it's going to go that way, but we'll see. And thank goodness we have you here to, to explain it all to us. Adam Brewster, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.